and welcome. Today we are taking a full look at the brand new NERF Loadout Galactic Commander. This is the 2025 flagship of the new NERF Loadout series, which is a continuation of the NERF N series. It's essentially the NERF N series take on the Modulus line, and this blaster shares a lot of similarities with the NERF Modulus regulator. This is a full auto flywheel blaster that features select fire. On the back of the box we do see that yes, this blaster will have plenty of customization options. It is worth noting that with this loadout series, all the attachments are different colors. With Modulus, they tried to make it consistent, but that is certainly not the case with the NERF Loadout series. Let's jump right in, see what you get in the box, and go over setup. So included in the box, we do have the Galactic Commander itself. We have a scope. And while these are the same size as N-Strike rails, it really doesn't seem like these new loadout attachments slide on very well. So immediately, I'm not sure how much I like this new rail design, but once it's on there, it is on there. We also get the barrel, but remember, this barrel is not actually N-Strike compatible. It's a little bit too big. We get the stock. This stock is N-Strike compatible, which is nice. We get not one, but two 18-round N-Series compatible magazines. We get 48 N1 darts, which is pretty nice because not only can we fill up both magazines, but we have quite a few extra. And of course, we get the instructions. Now, before we get deeper into the Galactic Commander, this is an electric flywheel blaster, so it does require batteries. The battery tray is right here, and we can remove it with one Phillips head screw. And the blaster requires 6 AA batteries. In this case, I am just using the Amazon Basics batteries. Of course, once you got all the batteries in place, the door can go right back on, and you can secure the screw. Now, if you haven't loaded an N-Series magazine, it's a little bit different from what you might be used to because you are just going to stick them straight through the top. It does take some getting used to, but I find it to be pretty quick once you get the hang of it. By the way, there are these 2 buttons on either side, and when you hold these down, you can pretty much eject all the darts, or as many as you want to eject. Further, it is worth noting that with the N-Series magazine design, every time you stick the magazine into the blaster, and if it's full and you go to remove it, 2 darts are going to fall straight out. Because every time you put a magazine in, it's essentially chambering those darts and holding down these 2 tabs that I showed you earlier. This could be kind of frustrating, but I don't see it as a huge issue. Now let's go over the NERF Loadout series Galactic Commander. First off, we have quite a few rails on the blaster. We have one on top, one on bottom, one on the bottom of the barrel, one on the right side of the barrel, and one on the left side of the barrel. While this barrel does work like an N-Strike attachment, like I mentioned earlier, it's just too big to be compatible. The retention on this barrel system compared to N-Strike is pretty finicky. They have this tiny little fixed plastic piece and a small little hole that this piece is supposed to sit into. But when you put the actual barrel on, you don't hear much of a click at all. And because this little plastic tab is not spring-loaded, it's slowly scraping the plastic right here. So definitely some pretty backwards technology compared to what we had with the Modulus series and N-Strike Elite. With that said, once the barrel is on, even though it doesn't make much of a click, it seems to be on there pretty good. Now when it comes to the stock on this blaster, the stock length here is pretty darn good. This stock is N-Strike compatible, and to remove it from the blaster, there is this button on top that we're just going to hit, and we can pull it right off. Also, this blaster is doing what N-Series was doing previously, and that is, because we have more tabs on top, we can flip the stock upside down. Why would you ever want to do this? I'm not sure, but you can totally do it. This stock does hold a single N-Series magazine, and it has a pretty cool feature where you can actually load the magazine from the top of the blaster. The biggest issue here is that the tolerances are fairly poor. So if you were to actually try to load the magazine from the stock here, you would slowly start pushing it out. It doesn't actually clip in there very well, so it might even fall out if you run. On the top of the blaster, we do have the included scope. But if we look at the new tactical rails for the Loadout series, they don't have any locking nut for the attachments. So what they've done is actually put the locking part on the attachment itself. This is a pretty strange design choice, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. The scope itself feels very cheap, but it does have some decent crosshairs inside. Sliding on the scope here is definitely quite different feeling compared to what we had with the N-Strike series. but it does work. On the left side of the blaster only, we do have our jam door. It's a fairly small jam door, but it'll certainly do the trick. When the jam door is open, you cannot rev the blaster. And if we look over to the right side, we have the selector switch. This selector switch might look a little bit different, but it's pretty simple to use. We have 1, 2, and 3. 1 is single fire, 2 is 3-round burst, and 3 is full auto. We can use the select fire by using these notches here to turn it to our desired number. The clicking motion of this dial does not feel great. It feels like something could potentially break, unfortunately. Of course, right here we do have the main grip. It is pretty comfortable, I would say. It might be a little bit tight for some people, but I do genuinely think it's pretty good. The stock length is good, and up front we have this nice angled foregrip. The ergonomics on this blaster feel pretty great overall. Of course, right here we have all the main controls. We have the rev trigger, the main trigger, and the magazine release. The magazine release can be struck very easily, and the magazine can easily be pulled out. The plastic quality of this blaster is definitely a step down from some of the N-series blasters, and certainly a step down from a lot of previous NERF blasters. But I would say, despite feeling cheap in some spots, and the scope in particular feeling very cheap, it does feel pretty durable, and particularly on the main blaster, there is no creaking or anything like that. I'm also going to say, while I really don't like the fact that the Loadout series does not match, like all the blasters are different colors, all the attachments are different colors, and to me that's kind of annoying, but this blaster itself has a pretty stellar paint job in my opinion. Now let's get some shots over the chronograph with the Galactic Commander. We are using brand new AA's and the included N1 darts. We're going to do 6 with the barrel on and 6 with the barrel off. For the N-series line, we should expect about 80 to about 90 feet per second. And we are on the single fire mode. 82, 86, 83, 84, 86, and 84 feet per second. That's definitely not too bad for an N-series blaster, and right about what we should expect. But now let's try it with the barrel off. 87, 88, 86, 85, 84, and 86. The FPS is very similar regardless of whether you have the barrel on or not. Still, I'd say that's some pretty solid N-series level performance. Now we're going to see how easily we can hit the rival Jupiter target from about 25 to 30 feet away. We are starting off in the single fire mode. Miss, 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 near miss, 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 hit, miss, 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 miss. We are getting very close with a lot of those shots, and there is some wind, but these N1 darts are certainly not the most accurate darts you can get. Let's continue in 3-round burst. Hit. And this magazine is empty. We'll try a couple more 3-round burst and then empty the rest of the mag in full auto. And we had kind of a jam. The spring in this magazine is not quite doing its job here. It seems to be a bit on the weak side. Near miss, and we missed that as well. Not sure how many darts we have left in this magazine, but let's go right into full auto. Now we did do full auto there, but we didn't have too many darts in the magazine, so I went ahead and reloaded this magazine, and now we have more darts for another full auto try. And we did hit the target a couple times there. But again, because we only have the one variety of N-series dart, this is not going to be the most accurate blaster. At 25 to 30 feet, you're definitely going to be able to hit another player, but anything smaller than that and any distance further than that, you might have some trouble. But I certainly wouldn't say this blaster is any less accurate than the other N-series blasters. Now let's fire some shots downrange, but there is a pretty heavy breeze going towards the left. Starting off in the single fire mode. While I'm here, it might also be a good idea to show you the trigger delay, because of course on a blaster like this you are going to have a bit of a trigger delay. While this blaster is using a pusher and things like the regulator used a conveyor belt, this blaster still has about the same delay as the modulus regulator. In single fire mode, it looks something like this. So definitely a pretty notable delay, but not the end of the world. Now let's fire some shots in 3-round burst. And it seems to be keeping up pretty well with the 3-round burst. Those shots went all about the same distance. Let's see if we can empty this whole mag in full auto. That is a pretty solid rate of fire. Definitely comparable to something like the Hyperfire or Modulus Regulator. And those ranges did not get too bogged down from the full auto. But with all that said, what are my final thoughts on the NERF Loadout Galactic Commander? Overall, I gotta say, I do like the blaster. I think it's comfortable, I think it fires pretty well for that casual space, and I do think while we have some tolerance issues, the attachments are pretty fun, and the blaster overall looks really great. But I think where it ultimately suffers is just the overall lower quality of a lot of aspects. I don't particularly like the new tactical rails. I mean, the magazines and scope feel cheap, like something you'd get from an Alpha Strike blaster. Maybe even worse. And even something as important as the selector switch feels like it could break. It just feels brittle, it feels sketchy. And you never really saw things like that during the Modulus line, particularly with the regulator. The quality on that thing was so much better than what we get here with the Galactic Commander. But I will say, despite some of the quality issues and tolerance issues, you are getting a pretty impressive and functional blaster for the casual space. I do wish we had a more accurate N-Series dart at this point, but this blaster can fire those darts pretty darn fast, and you get plenty of those darts, and you get 2 magazines. If you don't like N-Series, of course you're not going to buy this blaster. If you don't want to get into this new ecosystem with the N1 dart, this blaster is not going to be for you. But if you already do have some N-Series blasters and you like them, this is certainly not a bad blaster. In fact, this might be my favorite blaster in the line next to something like the Infinite, just because of how cool it looks and how feature-packed it is. I'll say I also really like how it looks without any of its attachments. I really like how this looks. I think it's pretty cool and compact. And I did forget to mention earlier, but you have plenty of spaces to sling the blaster if you do want to run it like this. I think I really like the idea of having this compact, really fast full auto blaster in the N-Series line. This bare bones configuration might be where the blaster really shines for me personally. So my final thoughts are basically, I like the look of the blaster, I like the overall function of the blaster, I really like how fast the blaster is, I also really like this sort of industrial piping / wiring design on the blaster, because that's very, very classic N-Strike. I think the blaster's biggest drawbacks are just the quality issues. The bare bones blaster, besides the magazine, is actually a pretty solid feeling blaster with no creaking and only some sketchy areas. The quality issues are most notable with the attachments and their tolerances. So yeah, while I can't get fully behind this blaster because of those issues, I still really like the Galactic Commander. So if you see this thing and you like the look and you like the idea that it's full auto and that you get 2 mags and select fire, then totally go for it. I don't think you're going to be too disappointed with this blaster, knowing that it's not a pro-grade blaster and meant for the more casual space. And regardless of how much I do like the Galactic Commander itself, I do think that a lot of the decisions that are being made for the NERF Loadout series are pretty bad decisions and definitely a huge step down from what we had with the Modulus line. The Modulus line always had some very high quality blasters, we always had some really interesting and new innovative attachments, and one of the main points of the Modulus series was having attachments that matched. This line is pretty much the exact opposite of that. We're not getting attachments that are too innovative, and none of the attachments attachments really match. I mean, this barrel that comes with the Galactic Commander, for example, has a paint scheme that no other loadout blaster has, and a shape specifically tailored for the Galactic Commander. So this barrel is going to end up looking super weird on any other blaster you put it on in the loadout series. Also, I think pretty much every other blaster in the line is a slight reshell of a previous N-series blaster. For example, we have the generic cylinder blasters, and we have some internal magazine blasters that work exactly like the Shadowstorm. So I'm certainly not thrilled about the genericness and lack of innovation from the rest of the line, and I'm not thrilled about the lack of coherent color scheme. But hey, if you like the idea of all these different colored attachments coming together, Loadout might end up working really well for you. But for me personally, besides the Galactic Commander, I am pretty disappointed in the looks of the rest of the line. But yeah, as far as the Galactic Commander, it has some tolerance issues, some quality issues, but is still a pretty darn fun, competent, casual blaster. If you want this thing, I don't think you're going to go wrong with the Galactic Commander. If you are interested in checking this blaster out, I will have the link in my description. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Galactic Commander, whether you have one or just watch this review. Have a good one, subscribe for more, and happy blasting.